I don't think it's a question of do I go to an accelerator or not. I think it's a question of which accelerator do I go to, like which one is the best fit for me at my stage of business or idea more than anything.
Hey, my name is Felix Tia, and I'm the host of Shopify Masters, a weekly podcast powered by Shopify, the easiest way to sell online, in person, and anywhere in between. Each week, we invite entrepreneurs like you to share what they've learned growing successful e-commerce businesses. In this episode, you'll learn the biggest benefits of joining an accelerator, how to run ads when you are in a heavily regulated industry like health and medicine, and how to pre-sell your products in person and online. Before our show, I wanted to chat about the storefront signage maker. It's an easy way for any brick and mortar shop owner to let your customers know that you are open, available for curbside pickup, delivery, online information, and more. Customize any message you like, automatically create a QR code for your store, then print it off from home. It's easy and simple to use, no design experience required. Create a sign yourself at shopify.com/signage. Today I'm joined by Neela Idnani from HabitAware. HabitAware's Keen Smart Bracelet uses gesture detection technology to bring awareness to debilitating and trance-like hair pulling, skin picking, and nail biting, making their customers habit aware and allowing them to take control. HabitAware was started in 2014 and based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Welcome, Anila.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you and your husband co-invented the Keen One smart bracelet to solve a personal pain that you had. Can you tell us more about what motivated you and what led you to develop this product?
Yeah, I since childhood have had a condition wherein I pull out my hair. It's essentially a coping mechanism. It's very trance-like. I didn't realize I was doing it. And it provided, it served a purpose of providing a sense of relief, a sense of self-soothing. And so I continued to do it as my go-to mechanism to sort of combat stress, anxiety, nervousness, tiredness, boredom. And it just became something that I was also kind of ashamed of because it, to me, felt a little weird that I was doing this to myself. And I didn't realize until my 20s that it was actually a mental health condition. But I still hid it for a really long time because of that shame that I had felt. And a couple of years ago, my husband, Samir, caught me without eyebrows. And we set out on a journey to simply hack nights and weekends with two other friends of ours who are now our co-founders, John and Kirk, to make something that would work for me. And then when we realized that it was working, we said we have to take this to other people in the community who have not just hair pulling, but skin picking and nail biting behaviors that they want to get a hold of.
Makes sense. So you had this problem, you knew that it existed, and I think you mentioned too, maybe in our pre-interview, that this is a problem that is not just faced by you, faced by many others around the world. Did you go out and first look for a solution for this at first? Did you find anything?
Yeah, the first thing we did was, honestly, our aha moment was I was sitting on the couch after my husband now knew that I had this condition, and I was pulling out my eyebrows, and he gently grabbed my hand. And that was the aha moment of, oh, if I just had something that notified me. So, of course, he took to the internet, tried to find something because it was in the early days of Fitbits and Apple Watches. And we thought, okay, something has to exist, but we couldn't find anything. So we said, okay, let's give this a try. Let's see if we can make this. That was the first thing was, does this exist? And then when we realized it didn't exist, we said, well, why not us?
Makes sense. Now, what were the first steps? You mentioned that you and sound like there's 4 co-founders total working on this. You mentioned hacking nights and weekends. What was involved in the very early days of turning this thing into an actual product, at least enough for you to use yourself first?
Yeah, so the very first thing was actually before diving into code or, hardware, PCB manufacturing, we went to Michael's and we bought just these big jangly bracelets. And so the idea was, let's test this hypothesis of, if I know that my hands are near my eyebrows, will I change my behavior? And so the idea was, as soon as my hands went up, these bracelets would jingle and jangle and sort of wake me up. And it was kind of working, obviously I'm a hand talker and I type a lot for work. So I was working in the advertising industry at the time. So it was, they were going off more than they needed to, but they were doing its job of alerting me. So that kind of gave us this confidence that, okay, if I'm aware, then yes, I can take that moment of pause to choose something healthier. And then we moved to, okay, now can we build something technical? And that's where John and Kirk really came in as our technical co-founders to um, develop the smart bracelet, the algorithm and gesture detection, as well as the app, which um, Samir was kind of involved in like the math around the algorithm, and I was part of the app design process as well.
Got it. So, in terms of these kind of startups where it's a few people getting started, it's hardware and software, a pretty difficult combination, right, to start a brand new company. What was everyone's background that was involved in getting this off the ground?
Yeah, so myself, I have a background in advertising, graphic design. Um, I was working in client management and digital production, so really managing projects. John is a hardware engineering PhD. Kirk is kind of been like a lifelong CTO. Like he always jokes that his first computer was built when he was in kindergarten, kind of thing. And Samir is kind of all over the map in terms of things that he can handle, the MBA, hedge fund management, finance, as well as applied physics. So kind of runs the gamut across everything that we do as our CEO as well.
So definitely a powerhouse of a team to start a company. Now, these technical co-founders, John and Kirk, how did you guys link up with them?
Yeah, we were lucky to be in Minneapolis, which has such a huge, vibrant, and supportive tech community. So we started going to meetups. I started making friends with the community. We had moved here in 2011 for work, and that was kind of just the way we said, "Oh, we're going to make friends. We're going to make friends with people who are like-minded." So we started going to tech meetups and just started making friends. And as we came up with this idea, I just started telling my friends, this is what I'd like to work on. Do you know anyone that can help? And people just started kind of introducing us to other people, to events, and that's how we met John and Kirk.
Yeah, it's certainly a kind of an obstacle for a lot of founders to get over when they are building a technical product, to find these technical co-founders or technical early employees. You mentioned you use tech meetups to find to kind of get around and build your network. How do you know when there is a good fit when you are someone that is looking for a technical co-founder to join your team?
Yeah, I think it's very important not, it's very important to think about building these build business relationships in the same way that you would build a personal relationship, right? Like you wouldn't sign a marriage license with someone you just met. So in the same way, you shouldn't be signing like equity agreements. It's really about, like I said before, hacking nights and weekends, seeing how you guys gel as a team, who's showing up, who's not showing up, and just seeing, can we work together as a team? Can we create something that works? Can all of that plays a role and gives insight into how you work as a team, right? And how well you work as a team. And that's kind of what we did throughout this entire process. We've just been continuously testing and iterating, and just building our knowledge base, building our relationships until the point where it was like, okay, we were accepted into a hardware accelerator program in Shenzhen, China, which is the manufacturing capital of the world. And that was like the moment of, okay, it's now or never. We got to quit our day jobs. We got to go give this a shot. And all four of us, by that point, having worked maybe about a year, nights and weekends together, were like, yeah, let's do this. We see this as promising. At that point, we had some beta testers show interest and excitement that it was working for them, and we said we have to at least try.
Yeah, that's great that there was this team wide commitment to go all in. And when you do have a team of four in your case with different areas of expertise and knowledge, what have you learned through the years about how to make it all work together when there are different, again, areas of expertise? I'm sure there are differing opinions when in the last 6 years that you've been in business. What have you learned though about how to make this all work together?
Yeah, I think one thing that's definitely important is we all had some sort of connection to the problem we were trying to solve. Whether it was, very, very personal for me, Samir seeing a loved one and our other, both John and Kirk, seeing people in their family that had similar conditions. And so I think that that passion and that drive always helped kind of mitigate any tension that there might have been in the actual process of building this product, if that makes sense. Like ultimately, it's all about the customer that we're trying to serve and the problem that we're trying to solve for people. And so we try to just, as we're building, it's kind of a saving grace that we all kind of cover these different quadrants of the building, the development, and the marketing process, right? So that we all are kind of experts in our fields in a sense, but then we all look to each other for input and insight and feedback to make sure that things are working correctly. And I think that's actually been what's worked so well, is that we take each other's opinions and, we roll with them, and we try to use that information to improve the product, knowing that our customer is that final kind of idol that we kind of keep in our mind of, this is who it's all for.
So deep down, everyone that was on the founding team had a shared purpose in that they wanted to help someone that they knew was suffering from this problem that the product could help solve. And also there's this kind of trust and openness to getting this kind of feedback. So I think that's important, because a lot of times people will hire people either as a part of the founding team or hire them as early employees, but just kind of tick the box, not to actually trust in the person they have brought into the team. So I think that's an important point that you brought up. Now, this accelerator that you had all been accepted into, you said about a year into spending nights and weekends on the product. At what state? How real was the product at this time? By the time you spent a year into it and were packing your bags to go to this accelerator.
Yeah, by that point we had actually gone to a mental health nonprofit conference and had pre-sold about 50 units to people who had seen very rudimentary prototypes, but were so excited by what they saw that they were ready and willing to say, yes, I'll give you my credit card information in hopes that you ship this product to me, at a date that we couldn't even estimate at that point. So when we got into Hacks, we told those 50 families, we were almost ready to ship to them, and we said, you know what, we want to go through this program because we want to make sure we're giving you the best product possible. And we told them that their product was going to be free because they were obviously going to have to wait much longer than they had anticipated. And everyone was on our side. They were all so excited. And these were people that we had now met in person, so we knew their names, we knew their faces, they knew us. And it was, we call our customers Keen family, because that's what it feels like. We go to this conference every year, with the exception of this year, because of COVID, and it's like coming home. And so our goal is to just do right by our Keen family, and that was kind of the moment of having these people backing us and supporting us on this journey was awesome to have, and that's kind of what kept us going.
Got it. I like this that you went to this mental health conference and tried to pre-sell it at that point. Can you tell us more about what the product looked like, at what price point you were selling it at that point, how much of the end product was there at the time that you pre-sold it to them?
Yeah, that initial bracelet was, honestly, it was a 3D printed casing, and inside it was our microchip. And then it was just a watch strap that you can, order off of Amazon. So it was very, very, very much a prototype that we shared with them in person, put the bracelet on, let them train it for their behavior. They'd feel that vibration. Their eyes would light up and say, oh my gosh, doctors were coming up to us saying, we've been waiting for something like this. People were ready to take that home with them. And we're like, no. This is 3D printed. Like, this is just a test, but they were so excited. And then we kind of tried to iterate on that a little bit before we delivered. And then when we got into Hacks, we realized, we can make this a real product. And so the Hacks process really got us connected into the manufacturing flow of both hardware and like the silicone strap that we created. So the ultimate product looks just like an activity tracker. It's meant to blend in so you don't have to talk about these issues if you don't want to. You can just say it's my activity tracker. We call it the hug on the wrist that just reminds you of where your hands are so that you can take control. And that was kind of the process of taking customer input throughout this whole process to make sure that we were putting out the product that people wanted.
Got it. And a lot of entrepreneurs that have taken this approach that you've talked about pre-selling it at events or conferences, always tell me that they always learn a ton about the product in terms of what people liked, what they might not have realized people liked, or what they might not have realized needed to be changed, or even how they can speak about the product. Do you remember things that you might learn in the early days when trying to pre-sell the product that affected the direction of the product development or the marketing of the product?
Yeah, we received feedback on, at that conference specifically, we actually had a few image options of what would you like this bracelet to look like rather. And that was kind of how we landed on, okay, let's try to do something sort of discreet and sporty. We tested pricing as well, because it was such an early stage of pre-order. That conference special was like $99 or something, like very introductory pricing. Retail now on our site is $149. We learned a lot. We also, through the process of development, worked with doctors and clinical researchers in the space so that we were getting to create just like the correct user flow and user experience. And so taking input from them about how the app should interact with the bracelet and things like that was very helpful as well.
Got it. So now at this 1 year mark, the accelerator that you all went and joined, so you actually had to fly to Shenzhen to enter into this accelerator?
Yep. Yeah, it was an incredible experience. We took our 3-year-old son, I believe he was at the time, and found an English-speaking daycare, and we made it work. And we both wanted the experience of being out there and the education of being out there, and it was just phenomenal. Hacks was an extension of our team in terms of marketing, graphic design, industrial design, mechanical engineering, and then the connections to manufacturing partners was just invaluable.
Yeah, tell us more about this. Like, how long did this program last?
Yeah, it was a 3-month program. And through the process, it was basically, kind of like a rushed, it was basically every 30 days, their goal was for us to have something new to show them from a marketing perspective, from a hardware and design perspective, like a product design perspective. So we were just hustling and moving really, really fast. But we were able to do that because we had their safety net, if you will. Like we had their team to support us in that endeavor of the industrial design of the bracelet, for example. So shifting from that 3D printed, generic watch strap design to a beautifully designed smart bracelet, sporty looking, just something that can easily be on a shelf at Best Buy kind of thing, was because of their guidance.
Got it. What were some of the biggest advantages of joining an accelerator? Like what can they give you an accelerator that is not as easily done on your own?
Yeah, I mean, obviously one of the things is funding, but really it's this extension of team, filling the gaps that we didn't have from an industrial design perspective, mechanical engineering helping us get to manufacturing ready, and the relationships that they helped us build and connect with people in China where we produce our product.
Got it. Is there any reason why someone out there that is looking at an accelerator in their industry, why they might want to pause and think about whether it's the right decision or not?
I can't think of one. I feel like I don't think it's a question of do I go to an accelerator or not. I think it's a question of which accelerator do I go to, like which one is the best fit for me at my stage of business or idea more than anything. And knowing up front and trying to understand up front, like what is the value that accelerator provides beyond just the funding, because it's really the knowledge and the relationships, I think, that really help. I mean, obviously funding is helpful because it helps you pay for all the prototyping and all of that other stuff, but if you don't have the plan to do all of that other stuff, then the money in the bank doesn't really help. You know what I mean?
Got
So,
it.
and yeah, there are like good accelerators out there, and there are not so great ones. So I think it's more so what's right for you. What gap are you as an entrepreneur what gap do you need to fill, and try to find an accelerator program that helps fill that.
Is that easily discoverable from the outside when, let's say, you know that maybe you aren't great at logistics or manufacturing? Like, is it easy to tell which accelerators are going to be the best fit to help you fill that gap?
I feel like there are a lot of accelerators now in the US, and they're usually pretty focused on um, a particular vertical. So I feel like it should be doable in terms of maybe if you're building something in hardware, or if you're building something that's SaaS, or if you're building something that's like toy related. Like, I feel like there's so many niche accelerator programs out there now, and even regional. Like looking in your own, looking in your own backyard to see what's available. Maybe through your government might have mini accelerator programs, or co-working spaces might have programs. There's also a lot of accelerator programs now dedicated to diverse background founders, to help encourage entrepreneurship for those folks of those walks of life. So there's especially, I'm saying all this because I know and kind of see what's happening in Minneapolis with all some of these programs. So my hope is that other cities are kind of following suit in that respect of supporting the community.
So this you mentioned that the biggest resources from joining the accelerator for you are the knowledge and the relationships. Now, once you land. You land on the other side of the world, and you step foot into the offices. Is that kind of knowledge and relationships just handed to you once you get there, or do you have to put in the work once you're there to kind of get as most out of it as you can?
Absolutely. I mean, just like our bracelet, we help you build awareness of your hands, but what do you do with that awareness? That's your of taking stock of what's happening and learning to replace the behavior and doing that work. And it's the same thing with going to an accelerator, or going to a day job, or going to anything, right? You are going to get out of it what you put in. And so it's absolutely, trying to figure out what are the right questions to ask these people who have seen company after company after company kind of go through their program, right? Like, it's definitely about really looking within yourself and saying, okay, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What do I know? What don't I know? What do I need to know? And trying to solve those things for yourself. And also recognizing you don't have to have all the answers. You have to, then that's sort of where you need to build your team, And so, yeah, an accelerator program they're going to give you access to people, access to partners and employees, access to a workshop where you can cut and saw and all this other stuff. But if you don't step foot in the door, like all they can do is open the door. You have to step through, kind of thing.
Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the show, please leave us a review on iTunes to let us know what you think or what you'd like to hear more of. Now, let's get back to the interview. Got it. Yeah, 3 months is not a lot of time. I'm sure it flew by. You had mentioned that it filled a lot of gaps for your business. So at the end of those 3 months, how do you transition out of an accelerator? Like, what did you end up leaving with at the end, and taking it kind of off on your own, taking the training wheels off, and now going off on your own?
Yeah, the whole goal of the accelerator program is to culminate in a demo day, which also corresponds to a pre-order campaign, if you will. So it's your launch, essentially. So you're working for these 3 months, every moment of the day, even probably in your sleep, to get to this point of being able to turn on a website and say, here is what we have built, here is why we have built it, come join our Keen family. And for that was a pre-order campaign, and we spent the next year wrapping up the actual manufacturing process before we were able to deliver. So that was our first Keen One deliveries actually started in 2017. And so now we've been in market for about 3 years. So it's been really exciting to actually see the progress and the change that we've been able to empower in people's lives.
Yeah, but so what was involved in this pre-order campaign? Like, tell us more about during this time of driving attention, awareness, traffic to pre-order pages. What was that like?
Yeah, so what we did was we set up a pre-order site on our own website, and we did Facebook advertising to essentially capture people's interest and email addresses so that we had kind of a database of I don't know, it's probably around 3,000 to 5,000 people ahead of the actual pre-order launch. And then we kind of just nurtured them for we took them along a little bit on this journey at Hacks of we're in China and here's what we're doing, and sending them photos of prototypes. So they kind of got a feel for what we were doing on the technology side, also sharing my story and things like that, so that then on launch day, we could say orders are open. And that's kind of how we got our initial set of orders, as well as doing more Facebook advertising to people, as well as working with a major nonprofit to help amplify what we were doing. That nonprofit that I mentioned before at the mental health conference. So, asking them to share our launch via email, which they did, which was obviously another way to build awareness of the launch.
So you mentioned though Facebook advertising, and when it comes to the medical or health related field, targeted advertising is not often the easiest to run to identify your target customers, for privacy reasons. Any advice that you can offer out there for companies like yours that are in the kind of health and kind of medical field to work with online advertising?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit trickier because you can't obviously go straight for specific keywords, for example, but there's enough if you know enough about your consumer, by building relationships with them through your email marketing or through your Instagram messenger, or seeing what else are they doing on Instagram kind of thing. You can start to get a sense for their persona as a whole and start identifying your demographic and what else they could be interested in. Like for us, if we're talking to people with skin picking, nail biting, and hair pulling behaviors, then we can kind of guess that, okay, they're probably interested in things like hair care, skin care, nail care as well. And so kind of play around what else is going on in their mind, in their mindset, that you can access through these advertising platforms.
Got it. So during during a pre-order phase with the online advertising, with Facebook advertising, you're driving them to like a pre-order page, and what was the I guess the conversion event for that kind of campaign?
Yeah, that was driving to a pre-order page. We took credit card information, delivery information, and then again kept them through our emails, kept them going, kept them on our journey of development so that they knew where we were. They knew the hurdles we were facing, they knew the challenges, but they also knew the celebration moments as well.
Now, when you first brought them to the pre-order page, did you know at that point when you would be able to fulfill the orders?
We had a good inclination of when we were going to ship. But you cannot control everything. And unfortunately, that year there were a few typhoons in the cities where our manufacturing partners were, and that pushed out, obviously, rightly so, pushed out their manufacturing schedules, which then pushed into Chinese New Year, which essentially China shuts down for a good month or so. And so, no matter how much planning you do, you can't control everything. So that's why it's important to take your customer on the journey with you, so that if you tell them we're going to ship by this date and you don't talk to them until that date. And on that date, you have to say, oh, actually, we're not shipping that day. They're going to be so mad, right? But if you take them on this journey and ahead of that date say, hey, this is what's just happened. We didn't know that we could not predict this. We're very sorry. Here's our new game plan of how we're going to make this right for you. You get less upset people. You get more people cheering you on and saying, thank you so much for keeping us in the loop and we can't wait. And, I think it's just important as a business to just remember that you're still human and they're still human, and to keep that sense of humanity as you try to sell a product, right? I think we've kind of lost that a little bit in our world of e-commerce, to be honest, right? Like, you click a button and you expect something to be delivered in 24 hours, and you forget that there's actually people behind all of that. And so that's part of my MO, is to make sure that people remember there's people behind all that.
Makes sense. So you've done these pre-orders, pre-selling in person at these events. You've done pre-order campaigns online. What advice do you have for people that are pre-selling or taking pre-orders for a product that's not complete yet, that's not ready to be fulfilled immediately yet? What advice do you have for them to help them sell and have a successful pre-order campaign, but then also balance this fine line of not overpromising?
Yeah, I think one thing to remember is, what you want and what you expect out of your product, but your customer may not, right? So to your point of overpromising, don't overpromise, because then that locks you in a corner, right? So it's probably better to underpromise and overdeliver. And that way you really keep your customer engaged and excited and happy and thankful that, oh, you went above and beyond. And really, I think it really is all about this journey of taking people on a journey with you. I think people want to be a part of something. They want to feel a connection. And if you can do that and tell a story, and not just your story, but their story, right? Of how your hard work now is going to pay off for them later and help them with whatever your product is helping them solve, whether it's bringing them a moment of joy or, helping them build awareness of their hands, like whatever it is, you're making this product because it does something for someone, right? It solves some sort of problem for them. And I think as long as you keep that connection, you'll be building such a loyal customer base that even when things do go wrong, they're cheering you on and they're jumping on social media when they see someone say something negative. They say, oh no, you should actually talk to the founder, like they helped me, blah, 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 kind of thing, where they become your advocates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, an important element in all this, like you had mentioned, in pre-order and pre-selling success, is to keep them in a loop. And you're mentioning taking them on this journey. What does that mean exactly? What kind of things are you emailing them? How frequently are you keeping in touch with them? Like, give us the level of kind of communication that you're doing during this phase.
Yeah, so I have been doing for the last 3 years what I call Wear Your Awareness Wednesday. So I put out one newsletter a week. That's it. So I also don't want to clog people's inboxes. And then, on social media, we're a little bit more active, where we'll jump into conversations with people and offer encouragement and, nurture our own channel as well. But, for example, this Wednesday, like, my emails are not always, here's Keen, buy now, right? Like, this Wednesday's email was literally, I just want to check in on you. Like, 2020 has been crazy. And I just want to check in to see how you're doing. And here's the 2 things that are working for me. And, I don't expect everyone to write back to me, but I got 3 to 5 emails back saying, thank you. Thank you for checking in, because it's been hard. And, went back and forth with a few of those people, and that's it. And that's it. Like, I think that's all you got to do is to connect, is just be honest and be truthful of what's happening, and show that you are human, show that you are imperfect, to build that connection.
Makes sense. And one of the things that you had mentioned to us that has helped you communicate better with your customers is this post purchase questionnaire that you guys started doing. Tell us more about that. Like, what's involved in this post purchase questionnaire?
Yeah, so what we use is we actually use the Grapevine Shopify app integration, and we just ask one question post purchase, which is just how did you hear about Keen? Because that's like one of the biggest things is how are people finding out about us? You know, we do Facebook advertising, we do Google advertising, and it's still interesting to know uh, that word of mouth is still primarily, you know, one of our methods of people finding us, as well as I did a TEDx talk um, in 2019, which seems to still, you know, people are finding that and then finding us. So it's always good to know where people are finding you from, because then you know, oh, if it's Google ads, okay, then as a business owner, you know, I should be pumping more ads out or more, you know, putting more dollars behind that. Or if it's things like the TEDx, for example, well, maybe I should run ads linking straight to the TEDx, you know, things like that, so that um, people are seeing it in other places other than just, you know, finding it through a search on YouTube, if you will.
I like this approach because attribution through advertising platforms is far from perfect. So why not just ask the customer directly where they heard from you or how they found out about you? So once you have learned things like your TEDx talk, like these kind of content pieces that are not directly marketing pieces, or places where people are finding you, has that led to any actions that you either have taken or want to take now when you have this new knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, for example, you know, with the TEDx, we're running, like I said, an ad similar to that, and then with the word of mouth, we're looking to see, okay, well, how can we nurture our teen family to, you know, as I said at the very beginning, people feel a lot of shame for these conditions. They don't want to talk about them. They're willing to talk about them in online groups that are kind of closed and safe, and everyone's sort of in it together, if you will. Um, and so, how can we encourage them to share us beyond that, right? Or and so that's kind of our next question mark that we're looking at after. Actually, right now we're working to launch Keen 2. And then my next thing is, okay, how do we nurture this word of mouth? How do we um, build loyalty, and how do we nurture our most loyal Keen family to try to encourage them to share us more?
Makes sense. Now you are now in the middle of Keen 2, and by the time this episode airs, I'm sure people can go out and purchase it at that point. So tell us more about what's going on during this phase of essentially a version 2 of your product.
Yeah, so in 2018, we received a research grant from the NIH to improve our algorithm and to digitize some evidence-based treatments for these conditions. And so we are launching Keen 2, which allows our gesture detection to just be more refined, as well as a completely new mobile app that really helps a person through this behavior change process. And our plan is to launch very soon. We've been sharing out and seeding it on social media. We've been mentioning it on our newsletters so people kind of know Keen 2 is coming, and we'll be introducing it and asking people again to pre-order with intention of shipping in early 2021 to just build excitement for it and start explaining how it works through uh, graphical elements, through video elements, through different blog posts, which we'll be creating, so that people really understand what we've changed about the product, what's different about it, what's improved, and why it's the right thing for them if they're ready to get on this journey to awareness and change their life.
Hmm. Now, one thing that you had mentioned to me too during this phase of you building this company was in regards to being a people pleaser and a perfectionist. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs out there can relate to this. And you said the biggest hurdle for you is around fundraising, and then the ability to kind of move past the no's and the endless no's and endless, quote unquote failures that you will run into as an entrepreneur. And rather than chasing after those no's, taking a different approach. So tell us more about that. Tell us more about the kind of different mindset that you have about approaching the no's.
Yeah, I think it's important to decide where you want to spend your energy, and it's something of a reminder that I have to remind myself of often. Like, seeing a review on social media or something where someone says, "Oh, it didn't work for me. Too many false alarms," for example, and then getting an email saying my child has a complete full head of hair. So it's like, I know it works, we know it works. We can see it work. Um, we offer free video training calls to help people with their false alarms and things like that. And with the new Keen 2, like I'm pretty confident that the new algorithm is going to mitigate all of that. But just kind of remembering that, yeah, you can't please everyone. And also remembering that sometimes what someone is saying is not it's what someone's saying is their reality, but not necessarily your reality. So like I just said, like someone may say, "Oh, it didn't work for me," and I can look to the right and see someone else just say, "It did work for me." So it's the same product but two different realities, right? And so recognizing that, and recognizing that different people are willing to put different amounts of efforts in. Same for investors, right? They're willing to put different amounts of effort or dollars or no dollars. And you kind of just have to trust as well that no is actually a blessing, if you will. That, the right people are going to, in a sense, I mean, I truly believe that are going to be guided to you, or you're going to be guided to them, to help you fulfill whatever your kind of I don't want to say purpose because it seems a little cheesy, but what your goal, if you will. And so yeah, the no's are really hard, especially personally in Minneapolis when it's angel investors that you see at events that either they're hosting or you're speaking on, and then at the end of the day they're like, "Oh no, we're not," which is fine. It's good. Everyone's got their own kind of MO. And for us, we found that by focusing on the investors and the customers that are for us, that are gung ho from the beginning, our energy is like, it doesn't get sucked out of you. It almost gets exponential, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Like basically, instead of trying to push against the current, try to find where the currents are going, the direction that you already want to go down. I think that makes a ton of sense. Now I want to talk a little bit about the website. You had mentioned that you're using Grapevine and the integration for these post-purchase questionnaires. You also had mentioned to us during a pre-interview about how you're working with developers to work on the site. Can you tell us more about the kind of enhancements or changes that you're making to your website?
Yeah, so with Shopify, we're using a template that I purchased probably ages ago. And so, kind of grandfathered in, not ready to change. And it's Shopify itself is pretty intuitive to use. There's just minor things that you always want to tweak and make slightly better, but if you don't know code, it's a little bit trickier. I know some minor HTML, so I can get by, but at some point, you need to bring in people who are true Shopify experts to help just make the site feel more credible, more more responsive, especially the desktop to mobile. Like, I'm sitting on a computer all day long and designing the website and it looks wonderful, and then I go to mobile and I'm like, why is this breaking? And so yeah, I think it's always helpful to, once you get to a certain point, to recognize that just those little changes are going to help someone new coming to the site feel like, okay, this company is legitimate, these people are legitimate, this product is legitimate, I'm ready to make that purchase.
Awesome. So thank you, Nilo. So HabitAware.com is a website. And I'll leave you this last question. Wearable technology, as you had mentioned, has really started booming in the last 5 to 10 years during the time that you've launched your business. What opportunities do you see in this space moving forward for anyone else out there that might be interested in this space?
Yeah, I think wearables is really interesting for us. The way I see it is if you are trying to help a particular community solve a burning problem, uh, then I truly believe that a single purpose device that's just meant for that problem is the way to go, because then that product is truly built for that community and with that community, hopefully. So that's kind of where I see things going. I feel like right now there's a lot of, Swiss Army knives of wearables, if you will. Um, but I think if it's a very specific issue, then I think the wearable should be built for that issue rather than trying to shoehorn something into something that already exists. But I don't know. I could be wrong. And I also think it's not about just a bracelet. I think it's really about going back to the drawing board and better understanding the people the problem, and the lifestyle, so that you're building the correct thing, the correct product. It may not be a wearable. It may be something completely different. It may be, something that sits on a desk, or it may be something that's a mobile app type product. It all depends on all these other factors, and so I think it's really important before you start coming up with a product idea to really understand the problem you're trying to solve.
I like the way you put that. Awesome. Thank you so much again for your time, Anilo.
Yeah, thank you very much. This was really fun.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Shopify Masters, the e-commerce podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs powered by Shopify.